Hi, I'm Dr. Ebony Stone, and this is the Black Woman in the Corner Office. Hello, and welcome to the Black Woman in the Corner Office podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ebony Stone, and as you know, I just authored a book called The Power of the Pause. And it got me to thinking, if pausing is a superpower, what other superpowers do we embody as Black women? And so this season, we're talking about superpowers. And I'm super excited to have two amazing women with me today. So we're doing something a little different. It's three of us, not two of us. It's three of us today. And I'm going to read bios because otherwise I'll just start talking to them. Today we're going to talk about the power of mentorship. And so I'm going to read, first of all, I'm going to read Lindsay's bio. She has over 12 years of leadership development experience in entrepreneurial ventures, fintech, public, and nonprofit sectors. She's skilled at operational efficiency, capacity building, strategic planning, and change management. She is now the co-founder of the Pyramid Initiative, a leadership development and management consulting firm. Welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing so well.
Good.
Excited to be here.
Good. Well, we're excited to have you. And I'm going to read a little bit of Tisha's bio as well. And I'm sorry, LaTisha's bio. I know her as Tish. I'm sorry. But Tish is a dedicated and passionate advocate for the development of people. With over a decade of leadership and learning experience, she has made significant contributions to her field. She is honored to work for one of the leading fintech companies where she continues to inspire and lead. In her personal life, she is the loving mother to a toddler that she left at home even though I asked her to bring her, a supportive bonus mom to a teenager, and a devoted aunt. Her commitment to family is matched by her extensive mentorship experience. Spanning over 2 decades, throughout her journey, Tish has never hesitated to leverage her experience, overcome roadblocks, and celebrate her accolades to help others grow and evolve. As a mentee, Tish has also gained invaluable insights from others, resulting in life-changing experiences. Her story is one of continuous learning, resilience, and a deep commitment to fostering growth in herself and those around her. Welcome, Tish.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here too.
Cool. So I'm putting the phone down because I know them so well. I just want to have a conversation. So you guys are getting a sneak peek into the conversations that we have all the time. I'm going to ask you guys a question to get started. Hopefully the conversation just rolls from there. When I say there is power in mentorship, what does that mean to you?
Go to go first. Okay, pause. So, I did some thinking about this. For me, it's about safe guidance, right? And so what I think about is just in life as you go day to day, like you're making decisions, you're doing things, you could fall on your face, whatever. But with mentorship is I can do these things with the guidance of someone that's probably been there and I'm safe, right? However I express it, whatever direction I'm trying to go in, it's just that extra layer of safety that you don't have without mentorship.
I love that. Safety, safe guidance. What does it mean to you?
She definitely,
She took it.
I'm hoping we do that. But it's okay because that's just how it is. But hopefully it comes out too. When I thought about mentorship, like I think a lot about the relationships, exposure, all of those things. But safe space is definitely at the top of the list of safe space, advocate, ally, because I try not to necessarily look at it as like put a title or a role or a position or anything to it. But that's what I think about when I think about mentorship is just having that space. Because a lot of times when we're seeking or we find it's to, get a guide in a direction that's kind of a little distance sometimes from maybe what our immediate space is and allows us to kind of
just be and figure some things out. So I think another term I used was like reflective. It was like, it's a reflection. So I think about that a lot too.
I like that. I'm going to have to process that, the reflection. Well, we didn't tell, I'm sorry, it's my fault. I just assumed everybody knew how we met. So I should probably talk a little bit about how we met. Not too many details, but I'm trying to remember the year, Tish. Do you remember the year?
It's been a minute. If I had to guess a year, I'm going to say 2017, 18, closely, right? Closely. Maybe
I was
2017, 18?
I was thinking somewhere, I was going to go 2015, but somewhere around in there we met.
That's almost 2 years.
It's been a long
That's
time.
crazy.
It's been a long time.
Oh, wow.
We met working together, and then our paths separated, and then they came back together, and we had the opportunity to work really closely for a very long time. And then, what year did we meet?
Probably, if I had to guess, probably 2020 is what I would say, or maybe even 21, but I believe it was 2020. It wasn't much, somewhere between the 2020 and 2021 era, I think.
I think it was the end, now that I'm thinking about it, the end of 2020 when the teams came together. Yep. End of 2020, beginning of 2021. So we all used to work together, and I've had the amazing experience of mentoring these ladies, but also they don't know how much they mentor me. I believe that mentorship goes both ways, and you learn a lot from people that you mentor. When you think about mentorship and people out here who are saying like, I need a mentor, but I don't even know where to get one, where to start. What is your advice for them?
Go for it. And like, you know, it's like, oh, I don't know where to start. But like I said, everything kind of how I feel is less about industry and less about title, position, things like that. Again, back to relationship and what I feel like is super interesting about how this happened as well. Usually you find a lot of commonalities and things that you like familiarities, like back to the reflection piece. It's almost like do you see yourself or a version of yourself in someone who you think you could aspire to be like, right? And it doesn't have to be everything, but could it be is it an aspect? And if so, I just think trust the universe, because what I have found is that most people want to help. Most people do want to help, but just like you, they sometimes don't know where to start, right? Like, they don't know how to find a mentee or somebody that they could give back to or pour into. And so my advice would just be, if you're looking at someone or looking for someone, reach out. I mean, there's so many avenues, tools, platforms. Reach out and just literally say, hey, like, I like what you're doing. Do you have space?
I love that. So at least you're asking, like, do you have space, or I like this, right? So I'm going to shift just a little bit because this came to mind while you were talking. Mentors don't always tell us what we want to hear. And I was taken back to a space, right? We won't tell the story. But I was taken back to a space which we now know neither of us had all of the information, right? But we had to have a conversation that neither of us wanted to have. You didn't like what I was saying. I didn't like what you were saying to me. But fast forward, we're still here.
100%.
What advice do you have for people when the mentor is not giving you what it is that you're wanting, but they think they're giving you what you need?
I think my greatest advice is just the trust, right? Because if you've made it to that space and someone is guiding you, you have to just kind of trust the direction that they're guiding you into, even if you're not buying it. Even if it's rocky, right? Because I think that, and just to kind of tie this two together, like when you identify what it is that you're looking for in a mentor, and then you take that time to build the relationship to make sure that that's the relationship you want to lean into, and it's vice versa. I think just trusting the guidance that they're providing and then seeing where that take you, and then being honest, like, I do not agree with this.
Yes.
I am not okay with this. And then, you know, because at the end of the day, it is like that level of care and that level of development and commitment that's there. And so even if, regardless of how it feels, they're not going to let you fall, right? Like, in those moments, you didn't let me fall. You didn't make sure I felt all warm and fuzzy, right? But you made sure, like, the support was still there and the lesson was there and full circle. I think that you can't do that without trust.
I love that. You talked about knowing what you want in a mentor. So many people don't. So how do they get to that point?
I think you just identify what it is that you're trying to solve. So I think it's the first step is self-awareness, right? You have to identify within, like, what is it that I'm trying to fulfill? Like, what gap do I have? For me, and we've talked about this a lot of times, I'm not good at speaking in public, large groups. Like, I love to talk. I will talk to whoever, whenever, but I'm strong in relationships. And I remember you telling me, like, focus on the relationships, because as the groups get larger, you'll get more comfortable. If you try to just go in and talk to 100 people, it's gonna feel overwhelming. So think about those individual connections. But for me, I had to identify, like, you do it so well. Like, how do you look so comfortable up there? Like, how did you get there? So, like, I'm still a little nervous every time, right? But I'm
Every single time.
Yeah. So I think that, like, the self-awareness is definitely key. Like, you can't walk up to somebody and I want to be what you are and walk the walk that that you've walked. You just kind of have to figure out what it is that you're looking for, be real about what that is, and be able to communicate that.
Can I add to that?
You can.
And one thing that I cherish about our relationship of, like, mentor-mentee is one of the first things you said when we kind of established and, like, started and everything you said that is a two-way street, right? And that really opened my eyes to the value of that and how important it is for even me as the mentee to come to the table ready to invest in this relationship and whatever is to come, but then also recognize if I'm not getting that in return. So thankfully, right, and that's how I feel like trust builds. Like, we've been able to grow that, but what I feel like you've done since I've known you is always show up. Like, you reach out as well, right? Because sometimes it's kind of awkward too when you're like, okay, I'm looking for a mentor, and then, like, you feel like you're, like, the person, like, always, shooting the whatever or hitting up, just thinking about whatever it is. But it's reciprocated, and when it becomes reciprocated, you start to feel that investment in that relationship as well. And so for those looking or not knowing necessarily what to look for, I think it's equally important to kind of pay attention to what is void, like what they're not getting as well, and realize that it's also okay to choose a different mentor, right? or try again, pick yourself up and try again. And it is okay. I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I look at a lot of things as just relationships. And so, like, how do you invest in a relationship and know that it's healthy on both ends?
And it's not always a match, right? Maybe
Right.
you think it is, and it's not always a match. So I've had the pleasure of watching you ladies develop. It's so amazing. Do you remember the first time somebody came to you and asked you to be their mentor?
I do. It was not a match.
No.
It was not a match. We didn't get far, right? So I think that it kind of was like, well, yeah, like, how can I help you? What are you looking for? What do you need? And they're like, I just want to grow, right, in a direction. Like, I can't help you with that. Like, is there something else here's where I'm strong. Is there any of those skills that you want to pull out? Any of those experiences? Because as a mentor, you just show up with all of your experiences and you're willing to share whatever, right, to help somebody navigate through their journey. But for this person, and it was younger, like, it wasn't corporate related. It was a teen youth group, and it was just like, I was like, I don't know, like, how to help you, but you could call me if you need me, but I just don't know, like, what direction. That's why I say, like, that self-awareness is so important. And also just being courageous enough to say upfront or whenever you notice it, like, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste my time. So But if you ever just need somebody to talk to, you could call me before. Yep.
Do you remember?
Same. I wouldn't say it wasn't. Well, I'm always in denial. Like I was, like I wouldn't officially say it wasn't a match, but I've had those experiences where it's just like pulling teeth. Like you're like, oh yeah, like I get it. Like I'm honored to have this title, right? And I'm honored to give you time, resources, whatever. But when a mentee or whoever doesn't know, which is understandable, right? You try to take the empathetic approach, but it's understandable. But then you're sitting there like, okay, well, honestly, I just hope I'm adding value. So then at that point, I'm just like sitting there pulling at straws, like, and that's when I kind of maybe kick it up a little bit more, which is where I come to denial. Like, okay, should I be taking my own advice and like just being okay with, like letting it go? But what actually ends up happening is more, it just like evolves until like I come into this place of acceptance of like, fine, if they still consider me to be their mentor, I'm honored. And so that is my response. Like I remember that time and it's always an honor for me, right? But then the work, you're like, okay, well, what do we do with this?
I remember there was a program that forced people to have mentors. And I got matched with someone. And it was hard. It was so hard. I remember sitting like, how are you? Fine. How's work? Good. You have any challenges right now? A few. And I'm just like, how do I get through this hour? Like,
long hour.
This is a very long hour. I remember getting through the meeting and thinking, okay, it's got to be me. So the next meeting, I said, let's meet outside. Let's do lunch, right? I'm trying to build. It just wasn't there. And so I finally had a conversation. I said, what are you looking for? Maybe I know somebody that can help you, right? Because you never want to feel like you're just leaving somebody. But when it's painful, somebody's got to say, this ain't working.
Yeah.
You feel it immediately.
And everybody's better off because of it. Yes, seriously.
I want to talk about the, can you be my mentor because you're a Black girl thing.
Yep.
And how we want to, right? But we can't always. So what advice do you have for someone who, because sometimes it is like, hey, I see the other Black face across the room and I just want somebody to talk to. What advice do you have for people that are just like, I just see a Black woman, I want her to be my mentor?
Yeah. I think for me is having a real conversation of, are you looking for a mentor, right? Or are you looking for a relationship and connection in this space that you might feel uncomfortable in? And once you can define that, because we know mentorship is about guidance, typically they're looking for the relationship, the sisterhood, the friendship in the space that you're in. And so you can navigate that with like, we can connect all day long, but guidance is not necessarily required for that. So it's just having that conversation of intentionality.
All right, so I have one, maybe two questions for you guys. What do you think would surprise people about mentorship that we haven't talked about?
We kind of talked about it, but I guess my emphasis would be that it takes work on both ends. I think Tish, clearly mentioned it before of just kind of knowing what you want, or at least putting some kind of thought on like what it is that you're looking for. It doesn't have to be completely, clear or direct, but something so you're just not going in the abyss. And then on the flip side, as a mentor, I think realizing your real capacity and how much you actually have to give, and what you think you can give, so for me, it would be maybe just like it takes work, because I think a lot of people push like, oh, get a mentor. Mentors are great, or, but then it's like, okay, fine, I got a mentor, or I'm in this program that just put me together with a mentor, and I just sitting there like, how you doing? So the work for sure.
I'm gonna just add raw accountability, because we know it's accountability, right? But raw accountability, I'm just put myself out there and share one time we met. We had kind of talked about, gave you some insight to just like where I was, where my mind was, all the things. And we connected, and you was like, are you okay? And I was like, no. And you were like, you talked me through it. You didn't just push through. It was like, you better make sure you take care of yourself. Right. And so it was I'm not much of a crier. I felt it behind my eyes. So I was like, I do need to get myself together. I need to make sure I'm okay. So the accountability and guidance, like that's a given, but like the rawness of it, of like, I'm reading through how you're showing up. I'm reading through the things that I know about you, and I want to call those things out.
I think that goes back to that relationship, though. Yeah. Because if you don't build that relationship, you don't know. I think I know exactly what you're talking about. You gave me all the answers, like all the things. It was like, and I was like, something ain't right. It's too perfect, but it goes back to that relationship. Yeah. Like, you have to build that relationship. So I know we could talk all night, and we probably will talk a lot more after these cameras go off, guys. But I thank you guys for being here. Is there anything you want to tell about what you might have going on, or where they can find you, if they want to follow you? Anything you want to share? You don't have to, but anything you want to share?
I have about 800 friends on Facebook, which is not a lot, but feel free to follow me. Tish Marie on Facebook. I'll pop up. It's the professional picture. I almost think I have on this blazer right here. So you'll find me.
Nice. Well, I got 40 whole friends on TikTok.
Oh.
Press?
Yes.
Well, I'm probably the opposite. I don't know how many friends I have on Facebook, but you can always find me on LinkedIn, Lindsay M. Russ, and I'm always happy to connect. So, yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us as we talk about the power of mentorship. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Black Girl in the Corner Office podcast. Until then, keep spreading that Black girl magic on everything you do.